All right, everyone, welcome to the weekend edition of Simply Bitcoin, where we break down all the daily Bitcoin news from Twitter, the daily fail, the meme review, software releases, and the websites by plebes. You know the drill. We're going to the numbers. Here we go. All right, so we are currently sitting at a block height of 669,557. Current Bitcoin price, 38,010. Chain rewrite days, 582. Total lightning capacity, 1,081.06 BTC. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, little bump, 6.02%. And sats per dollar, 2,631.
Well, Phil, I think it's time. Satoshi is coming very soon. We hit 40K. We touched 40K for a little bit, so
I almost had to put in the orange stretchers. Almost.
Almost. Oh, by the way, I reread the comment. He said by the end of the month. He didn't say by the end of the week.
Damn it. Okay, fine. All right, so we'll give him till the end of the month.
Give him to the end of the month. Shout out to our fan. If you guys want us to do anything, reasonable, put it down in the comments, man. We'll get to it. This show is for the plebs. Right. Anyways, that being said, Phil, it's time for
the daily fail. All right, so today's daily fail, it's not actually the person who tweeted, but it's what they tweeted about. What did Saleha Mohsin tweet about? Yellen says Larry Summers' worries over Biden's package adding to inflationary risks are small compared to scarring of economy by not spending enough right now. If inflation becomes a problem, I can tell you we have the tools to deal with the risk of that.
No, they don't.
That happens. Okay. So look, let's just be honest, right? There are no tools. Okay? This whole business of tools, it's all made up bullshit. All they have is a printing press, and all they can do is take money out of circulation. And the third piece of this is that they can hide money in assets. That's it. Those aren't tools. Those are just illusions. That's it. It's just bullshit. Anyway, so yeah, Yellen's our fail. Doesn't take her very long. She hasn't been doing she hasn't been in the Biden administration for that long, and she's already just a complete laughing stock, which, don't get me wrong, that doesn't change from her past position. But anyway, like, hey, look, you're right back home again.
Back to you doing the usual. But it's funny, Phil, because before she came into office, I remember reading somewhere, hopefully I could find it so I could pop it up, but basically she was saying, like, when the other administration was in power, it's like they're spending way too much money. This is going to put the economy in harm's way and all this. And now when her administration is in, it changes tune completely. So was she telling the truth before, and now she's on the ship? She's getting paid by all these big bankers, including the ones that were losing from the GameStop trade. It's just so fun. There's just so much corruption in this fiat administration, and I really do call it a fiat administration because all the insanities that have been going on, right? Whether you lean right or left, they're all the result of this fiat, this broken layer, the fundamental first layer of society is broken, and it just affects everything around us. And it's entertaining to see from our Bitcoin life rafts, man. But it's crazy. It's crazy. You'll hear here first on Simply Bitcoin. Anyways, Phil, it's time for it.
The daily meme review.
All right, everybody. The first meme for today is brought to us by Greg Zag1, a Simply Bitcoin meme lord. Let's check it out. When it's your turn to stand up and make the sales pitch, but you've been watching Max Kaiser, Bitcoin Tina, and Michael Saylor talk about Bitcoin for the last 2 hours. Okay, I have to give it to you, Greg. I have to give it to you. But you are a meme lord, right? Normally, I don't know, Phil.
I already wrote mine down, so that's it. Mine's set in stone.
I'm going to take influence from you yesterday.
9.9.
He called me a liar for that. Anyways. Okay, so I went with, I gave Greg a solid 10 on that. Yeah, that's right. He's broken me down. He's broken me down to the point where I'm just going to give him tens.
He's gonna be so mad.
I know.
They're gonna give you a perfect.
Giving him a perfect 10 on that one.
Oh my
okay,
God.
so why'd you give him the 9.99?
Dude, it made me laugh. It was super relevant with what's
Right?
going on right now. And, you know, what else could I say, right? But it's Greg, so I had to deduct 0.1. What about you?
I gave him a 10 because, okay, it's interesting, right? Like the situation he brings up is like every kid's worst fear, because as a kid is going, you know, as a guy is going through puberty and everything like that, like, you know, you start to learn about the need for control. And it's just super funny because it's pretty much relevant to like, you know, almost any kid, you know, well, any guy anyways. So I just thought it was pretty funny because that's like one of the things that's, you know, like a kind of worst fear growing up as a kid. You stand up to go to the chalkboard and you've got a boner and everyone can see it. So,
Yeah, exactly.
pretty, it's funny.
It's funny. Greg, Phil, let's move on to our next meme. All right. It looks like the next meme is brought to us by another Simply Bitcoin meme lord, RD_BTC, nah, Bitcoin, Elon Musk. Of course, he's referring to Elon taking the Bitcoin, a Bitcoin out of his bio, and he's going back to, pumping Doge. Now, I don't know whether Elon is being a troll or not. I suspect he is. I think that they have some Bitcoin in reserves. Not going to lie. This could be very smart to accumulate more Bitcoin. Anyway, in regards to the meme, Phil, like the Lion King, it was amazing source material, and him just getting kicked off because he took Bitcoin off his bio. Absolutely hilarious, super funny. And because it's RD and not Greg, I'm going to give that a perfect 10. What about you?
Very nice. Okay. All right. So a couple of things, right? Lion King, great reference, even though that movie is ultra depressing. Still a great reference that everybody knows. Okay. The symbolism though, right? It's Bitcoin kicking Elon off the cliff while he holds up Dogecoin. Okay. So that's very well done. Made me smile. Lots of cultural relevance, right? Between Lion King and Elon, right? Because, Elon with Tesla and all that stuff, and, Lion King being a kid's movie, everybody gets brainwashed by Disney. So I went with perfect 10.
Perfect 10.
Both of our meme lords got perfect 10s today. So now no one should complain.
They got perfect 10. They got perfect 10, but I gave it a 9.99. So
well,
Greg,
now they can pick on you for a bit.
So Greg isn't a perfect 10 yet. Greg is absolutely gonna murder us. We love you, Greg. Yeah. We're just pulling your strings. Yep. You did deserve a 10, but not this time. Anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily News, sponsored by Crypto Cloaks.
All right, everybody. It's the weekend edition of Simply Bitcoin, but we have a lot of news today, believe it or not, right? So let's get to it. The first article brought to us by The Block. Crypto exchange Bitfinex says it has repaid Tether the remaining loan balance of $550 million. And of course, this is coming on the heels of when Tether got hacked a couple weeks, like in 2017, 2018. What they did is they took a massive loan from Tether, which they owned themselves, to kind of stay solvent. They also took a haircut, a partial haircut of all the depositors on Bitfinex to stay afloat. But this major FUD was born out of that, which basically said that Bitfinex was printing Tether to pump up the price of Bitcoin. This has been debunked on an analytical level, but I think this is the final nail of the coffin, Phil. I really think so, because all the fudders said this was going to be impossible to do because Bitfinex was insolvent and they were just using Tether to just keep their heads above water. Well, in the last 2 years, they paid back $200 million. Okay, so. Is this the final nail in the coffin of the Tether FUD? Are these people going to start? Are they going to have to start finding other jobs? I'm specifically referring to Bitfinex. on Twitter.
Yeah.
What do you think, Phil?
I mean, look, I personally never bought the Tether FUD because if you've actually ever owned any Bitcoin, you kind of got to wonder where the hell they come up with this idea that people are printing Tether to prop up the price of Bitcoin. Like whenever I've bought Bitcoin, I've never used Tether. So like I understand that people use Tether for trading, but then that would simply mean that the Tether is created after the fact. And it's only there as a placeholder until you move into, back into Bitcoin or, whatever the hell you're doing with your trading. I just don't, I never understood it. And it always just seemed like some stupid thing that was made up that pretty much, they kind of took a chance, right? They wanted to see what would stick. Hey, look, if no one's going to figure this out. And then they try to show you all these like stupid numbers and pretend that it's somehow related. Don't get me wrong, but like at the end of the day, this has been FUD from day one. And I've never seen Tether as actually having any real impact on Bitcoin. And again, I could be completely freaking wrong, but that's just my take. You're muted.
Exactly. Like some people think that that Tether is the one pumping the price of Bitcoin, but they could like beneficial to them. They just never mention all these huge influx of institutional money coming in from public companies. They never mention any of that.
But think about it, right? You think Michael Saylor had to go into Tether first before he bought Bitcoin?
No, and Michael
like,
Saylor.
Like why? Like what? I kid you not. I don't understand how people don't question these things.
No, it makes
no sense.
It's absolutely hilarious. And Michael Saylor has never. He literally has never. He mentioned Tether, and he also debunked it himself. I'm sure he had to before purchasing $500 million worth of Bitcoin. Anyways, Phil, the next piece of news, also pretty awesome, is crypto exchange Coinbase has chosen NASDAQ as its direct listing venue. So this is pretty cool. Coinbase, it looks like they're making their public offering on the NASDAQ, where investors could purchase some Coinbase stock. I think this is absolutely amazing. Not for the reasons that you guys think. My reasoning is, once you have a company that's sole purpose is to sell and buy, trade cryptocurrencies. Unfortunately, I'm using that term, but we are fans of Bitcoin only on Simply Bitcoin. But once you have this in the door, it makes it much harder for regulators to do an all-out ban, right? We reported yesterday that Senator Loomis of Wyoming is now on the banking committee in the swamp of Washington, D.C. Well, or I think we reported that on Friday. Well, look, this is another huge wall that any type of regulator is going to have to, overcome. I just don't see the ban possible. I could be wrong, but it makes it much harder once you have a public company in the stock market. What are your thoughts on this, Phil?
Good for Coinbase, I guess. They're, a whole bunch of their initial employees and investors are about to get paid out in a really big way when it comes out on the market. So I guess good for them. Look, Coinbase is now, like you were just saying, Coinbase is now going to be subject to the, the public, I guess we'll say the public company problems, right? Where all of a sudden it's not about creativity or ingenuity. It's about churning out predictable numbers quarter after quarter and making the analysts happy. Like at the end of the day, the analyst is just a bunch of arbitrary numbers based on previous performance. But people treat it like it's, like it means something. So look, at the end of the day, Coinbase is just a maturing company. This is the next step. And I don't really, I know that they are quote unquote relevant in the space, but I don't really give a shit about Coinbase.
I hate Coinbase. I don't even have a Coinbase account, literally. But it's just more so I see it beneficial in the sense that it's going to give us more. It's going to give Bitcoiners more firing power when it comes to unfair regulation, you know?
Yeah.
And
I mean, it gives us more visibility, right? It gives us, but it also depends now on what Brian Armstrong, what narrative he starts to spin.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Right?
true. There's pros and cons to this. And the last piece of news, Phil, I found this absolutely bullish as Ukraine considers building a Bitcoin mining center based on nuclear power. You know, whatever you feel about nuclear power, you know, I respect that. I understand. I think that, I think that mainstream media has, this huge propaganda against nuclear power. I think nuclear power is much better than all the fossil fuels that we have to burn to maintain electricity everywhere. But the fact that they're considering using it for Bitcoin mining is absolutely bullish. And I'll tell you guys why. We've reported it here on Simply Bitcoin. Every single countries literally across the planet, right? We heard Russians in Siberia. We're hearing reports of people that have excess gas and they have to flare that out into atmosphere. They're using that for Bitcoin mining here in the United States. They're using hydrothermal power in Iceland. They're using cheap electricity in Pakistan and Iran and Venezuela. So this is awesome because this is distributing, right, decentralizing the mining hash rate all across the world, right? And that in itself makes Bitcoin harder to attack, right? This makes it so hard to attack because as soon as one country, and we've already seen examples of this, as soon as one country tries to ban Bitcoin mining outright, all the other countries welcome those miners with open arms. So it becomes like this game of hit the hedge, like those old arcade games, like dang, 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 dang. Dude, it's amazing, right? So the article in itself isn't bullish, but if you break it down to the macro event, which we cover here on Simply Bitcoin, we cover each one of these news when they come out. It's absolutely bullish, guys. This is insane. We've never seen this amount of mining decentralization ever, and it's beautiful. And this is exactly how it was architected to be, right? So it's beautiful to see in fruition. Phil, I can't contain myself when it's mining articles. What are your thoughts on this?
So, something that people, a lot of times, you'll hear this FUD about centralized mining, but what people don't really understand is that the miners themselves, they are in competition against each other. Okay. So, they always try to, people always try to paint this broad picture of the miners, and the miners are all in one place. They're all working against each other to get Bitcoin. They're all working against each other to figure out to figure out the solution to the math problem. They're not working together. Okay. And this is what people don't really realize. So anyways, the whole reason I'm explaining this is, again, the bullishness of the strength of the network as it continues to grow out. And I think that this is going to contribute to it.
Absolutely. So bullish. This is the second time I was muted today. Second time's the charm. Hopefully not the third. Yep. Anyways, Phil, there was a software release today. Why did you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Looks like we've got Samourai Wallet version 0.99.96C that was released, and the details to that are in the show notes down below.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed the weekend edition of Simply Bitcoin. You know what to do. If you like the episode, smash that like button. If you love the episode, subscribe, and we will see you on Tuesday for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.